Hey there, everybody. It's Lazy Leprechaun here, and today we're going over the Square Enix New Year's sale. Now, I'm going to start by saying that every Final Fantasy game from 1 to 15, with the exclusion of the MMOs, is on sale. I'm only going to be touching on a couple of them because there are plenty of games that Square Enix has made that there are some fantastic deals on. They're awesome games. So let's get started. First up, we have the Final Fantasy VI 2D Remaster coming in at $14.39. This was the first Final Fantasy game that I ever beat. I believe this was the third Final Fantasy game I had ever played. And the pixel remaster looks beautiful. With Final Fantasy VI, you don't have a single protagonist. Instead, you have an enormous cast of playable characters, and you go through their stories and they all intertwine into the main narrative. And it's a great adventure. It has a great story. It is the old school turn-based Final Fantasy that we all grew up with and we all love. The boss battles are actually very challenging in this game. For $14.39, this is a great buy. So coming up next, we have Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate. The Final Fantasy VII Remake was awesome when it first came out, and it has continued to get better and better. If you haven't played the Final Fantasy VII Remake, I would say to do it now with it being on sale because the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will be coming out later on this year. Also, we have Crisis Core that's come out as kind of a backstory to Final Fantasy VII. This game is getting a whole lot of love this year, so I would definitely pick this one up. The remake has taken the turn-based gameplay that the original had and has done away with it. This is all action combat. You can still cast your spells and all that in the combat. It'll pause. You can also have your summons with you, and they do great damage. They help you out a lot in battle. This is an awesome game, aesthetically beautiful. This is a gorgeous game. All the characters look great. The story is awesome. It follows the base game or the original game for the most part, but it does add its own little quirks to kind of give it its own spin. And that's where Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to come in, and it's supposed to revamp the way Final Fantasy VII is told. For $40, this is a great game. Next up on the list, we have Final Fantasy IX, my personal favorite Final Fantasy. Played this one as a kid. It's a fantastic game. The story in it's great. You have the synthesis system, so you can use old weapons plus some items to make new weapons. Of course, we have Vivi in this game. He is such an awesome character, and I firmly believe his character development is some of the best in the series. How he's gone from this shy, kind of kid like black mage to this just badass wizard. It's so good. The combat again is turn based. I highly recommend picking this one up for $10.49. Next up on the list, we have Final Fantasy 15 Windows Edition. This is the newest numbered installment in the Final Fantasy series, and with the Windows Edition, it does include all of the DLC for the game. So you get the episodes for each character plus many, many other things. There are a ton of different options for the graphics in this game. This is the best way to play it. I firmly believe that the Windows Edition is the most beautiful of the Final Fantasies that have come out as far as the PS4, the PS5, and the Windows release. This is definitely the best looking one. So with that being the case, with the uncapped frame rate as well, it'll be the smoothest experience that you're going to have. This one doesn't have turn-based combat anymore. They've gone into the action combat similar to what Final Fantasy VII uses. The story in this one is pretty good. It does take a little bit to ramp up, but the story is really good. The combat's really fluid. The graphics are awesome. The boss battles in this game are fantastic. Overall, it's a great experience. Coming in at $17.49. This is a great time to pick it up. So rounding off Final Fantasy on our list here, we have World of Final Fantasy. Completely different from any of the Final Fantasies that I have talked about now. This one is more of a monster taming game. You use the monsters of the Final Fantasy games and you build them up. You can actually build 3 stacks with them. Each monster comes in various sizes. You have a large, a medium, and a small. You can actually stack them on top of each other, make some really crazy combos. Those stacks and the different monsters and the sizes that they have different abilities that they can do in the overworld to unlock new areas and whatnot. The story in this is actually really cool. I really enjoyed it when I played this. The characters were good. There's some cheesy lines in there, but overall, this is a great game. Coming in at $9.99. If you're into the Final Fantasy universe or any monster taming games like Nexomon or Koromon or Pokemon, any of that, this is a great game to pick up. So next up on the list, a game that is not Final Fantasy. This is Nier Replicant version 1.2247448 blah 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 blah. This is a remake of an old Xbox 360 game that came out about 10 years or so ago, 12 years, somewhere in there. They revamped the graphics to it. They've redone the combat system so it feels more like Nier Automata. Massively changed what the world looks like. It's a gorgeous world. The combat's very fast-paced. The beginning of the game, it takes a little bit for the ball to get rolling, but once it does, it's great. You start out typical JRPG stuff where you're the big brother who needs to save his little sister from a disease, and as you find more stuff out and the story unfolds a lot more, your main focus becomes having to take out the Shadow Lord and find him. The dungeons are pretty cool in this game. They're pretty linear. They're not mind-bending like Legend of Zelda or something like that. Overall, for $29.99, it's a great pickup. The game probably won't be cheaper than this, in all honesty, for a little while, so this is a great price point. Next up on the list, we have Tactics Ogre Reborn, another game that had come out a long time ago that it only came out on the PSP. And I don't know about you guys, but I didn't really care for that handheld system, so I never actually got to play this. This game's in a similar vein to Final Fantasy Tactics. You have a bunch of different soldiers that you can use. They all have different abilities. They can all cast different spells, have different stats. There's the actual character customization in this game goes very in-depth as far as the different abilities and spells that you can have. You can have the same class 2-3 different times in your party, and you can have them built in such varied ways that neither one of them is going to feel the same to you. The story in this is actually pretty good. It's kind of a political intrigue, fantasy story. It's a great game. It just came out not that long ago, I think just a couple months ago. And for it to already be 15% off at $42.49, it's a great time to pick this one up. Next up on the list, we have Harvestella. This is a game that combines action RPG with life sim properties to it. You have a house that you can upgrade, and that serves as like your main hub. And there is some farming that you can do in this game. Outside of that, you're going through this pretty good story with action RPG elements. There's a lot of combat in this game. With it blending the two different genres together, it's kind of become like the jack of all trades, master of none. Overall, the overall experience that you get from the game is really good, though. There is a demo of this game. If you didn't want to spend the $47.99 initially, you can try out the demo to it. The demo is really solid. It gets you into the story. It teaches you the really basic parts of the game. Overall, this is a fantastic game. So coming in at $47.99, this is a great time to pick this one up. Next on the list, we have Octopath Traveler. A game similar in the vein of Final Fantasy VI, where you don't have a central protagonist. You have 8 different characters, and you play through all of their backstories, and their stories intertwine with the main narrative. as well as intertwine with each other's stories. And overall, it's a great experience. The art style to this game is great. This is your main look. It almost looks like you're looking through a lens there where they darken to the outside of it, but the middle is all nice and bright where you're walking. It's like a smoothed over 2D experience, but it has these 3D elements to it. They've done a fantastic job with the lighting and shading to this game. The combat is turn-based. There's a little action bar at the top that shows you who's in what turn, so you can kind of plan ahead. The game is a little grindy, but not so much that it becomes a drag. If you do have all of the characters, you do have to level them up from level 1 to whatever level. So if you plan on using the entire cast, then that could take some time. If you find a few that you really enjoy using, it doesn't take that long to actually build them up to where they need to be. So your group can be all kind of on the same playing field there. Coming in at $23.99. It's a great time to pick this game up. It's one of the best JRPGs I've played. Up next on the list, we have the Trials of Mana Remake. This is one that I bought on the PlayStation 4 shortly after it came out. And this was a really good game. I do like that, again, you have multiple characters. You choose your group at the beginning, and then you go through their backstories. Eventually, all the main characters find each other, and you go on this epic journey. It's the same Trials of Mana from a long time ago. I think the original came out sometime in the late 90s. And it's a fantastic game. I would say the only big downfall of this game is some of the voice acting is really bad. The only character that can heal in this game has such an annoying voice. If you don't mind the Japanese voiceover is perfect in this game. It sounds wonderful. So much better than the English voiceover, in my opinion. The combat, again, is great. The visuals are awesome in this game as well, with it being the remaster. Coming in at $24.99. It's worth picking up. Next up on this list, Dragon Quest XI S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition. So this is coming in at $25.99, and this is truly the definitive edition of DQ11. I played this game when it first came out on the PlayStation 4, and I couldn't put this down. This is the best JRPG I've played in probably the last 10 years or so. I love the story to it. I love the characters and the development. And with this game, you can also, as you can see pictured on screen here, you can switch it to the 2D mode. So you play the entire game and have it look like that old school JRPG feel. It's an awesome game regardless of whether you play it in 3D or 2D. The voice acting is awesome. Coming in at $25.99. This is a must-buy for any JRPG fan. Up next on the list, we have Tomb Raider Game of the Year Edition. Now, outside of this one, the whole trilogy that they released is on sale. So Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider are all on sale during this, but I just picked the first one. This is a great game. It's a great start to the story. It's a prequel to Lara Croft becoming the badass Tomb Raider that we knew that she was. She's kind of a shy girl in this one, still figuring everything out. By the end of the game, she turns into quite a badass. The story in this is actually pretty cool. There's some great cinematic set pieces here for this game coming out in, I believe, 2015-ish. It looked beautiful. It still does. It still holds up just fine. And the other two games look even better and play even better than this one. This is the start of the trilogy. There's a lot of information here that carries over into the other two. If you're a Tomb Raider fan for $4.99, this is a great pickup. So up next on the list, we have I Am Setsuna. I Am Setsuna is a nod to the old school JRPGs similar to Chrono Trigger. The combat is awesome and fluid in this game. It has a really nice art style to it. There's like some snow effects. The clouds look cool. The dialogue is really good. There are some moments where like the overland travel is kind of mediocre, but once you get to your locations, the way the story unfolds is awesome. $15.99 is the lowest I've ever seen this game at. So if you're a fan of the old school JRPGs, this plays a lot like one coming from Tokyo RPG Factory. This is a great one to pick up. I highly recommend it if you're into it. All right, next up on the list, we have Just Cause 2. Now, again, every Just Cause game is on sale right now. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 all on sale. 2 is held by fans to be the best of the Just Cause series. I agree with that. Everything you could do in this game, it was so amazing at the time, and it still carries over. Yeah, the graphics do look a little bit dated, but the gameplay is solid. The action set pieces are awesome. Just all the stuff you can do in this game is great. It's got an enormous open world. You can fly and drive and do all kinds of crazy antics while you're going through this island. If you're into these third-person action games, for $1.49, you literally can't get any better than that. You gotta pick this one up. So rounding off the list, we have Power Wash Simulator. Power Wash Simulator is a game that came out a few years ago, and I think really kicked off the whole simulator series of games that we see today. This one, if you just like to sit back and relax and you want to watch dirt come off of stuff, it's a great game. I mean, it sounds simplistic, but that's what this is. It is a great game. It's really relaxing. It's one of those really satisfying experiences that you can just get lost into. Coming in at $21.24, it's a great deal, and it's a good time to pick this one up. So there you go, guys. This is 15 games in the humble Square Enix New Year's sale. Please leave me a like and a subscribe, comment down below, and let me know what games you're picking up, or if you want to discuss any of them. Thanks for watching.